Hi everyone, welcome to this week's small group tutorial video where we are looking at Jesus telling his disciples to go and make disciples and preach the gospel. And it's the last thing Jesus said before he ascended back into heaven, and it's also the great commission that he gives to us as his followers to not just follow him, but also to be disciples and to make disciples. And one of the distinctions I made in my sermon today was that there is a difference between just following Jesus and being a disciple. And that's not in the questions, but you might want to discuss that amongst yourselves. So when Jesus gave the Great Commission to the disciples, if they hadn't have taken that up, then the gospel would have died in that first century. And each generation has a responsibility and a call to go and tell. So what stops us going and telling? That's the first question. What stops us from telling friends, neighbours, family members about Jesus? And that's a really interesting place to start. The second question, what should motivate us to go and tell? Jesus saw the crowds and he had pity on them. Why? And what is it that people need that Jesus can offer them? And so why is it important to go and tell? The third question, why is it important to intentionally mix with non-Christians? I told the story about growing up in Port Campbell and how we went to church and across the road was the pub, and the people who went to the pub and never the two shall mix. And it was like it was a sinful place, the pub, and it was a place we were not to go to. And we wondered why no one from the pub ever came to church. So why is it important to go and be deliberate about making friends with non-Christian people? And how do we do that? And then the fourth question, what's the danger of mixing with non-Christians? We probably can all think of people who have said, yeah, I'm going to go to the pub and be a witness, and perhaps they've ended up becoming part of the pub scene or part of that non-Christian scene, and even at times we've seen people lose their faith. So let's talk about the danger of going and being part of the place where non-Christians are. And then the final question, how can we go and tell without compromising our faith? How do we do what Jesus did? Jesus seemed to be just as comfortable with non-Christians, non-church people as he was with church people. He seemed to be able to mix with all types. In fact, we're told that Jesus was a friend of sinners. So how do we do that? And I suppose, how do we raise the bar and become more like disciples and less just like followers? I hope you have a really good study this week. This has been a real challenge to me personally, and I hope that you can discuss it and challenge each other. Have a good study.